Welcome back, everyone, to Petree's Pit. My name is Ray Petree, your host. I'm joined by my tag team partner, the Arn Anderson and my Tully Blanchard, JDO Double G Jordan. How you doing, sir?
How's it going?
I practiced that for a little bit. Anyways, last week we did a preview of Bad Blood. We're gonna recap what happened, talk about the ending, where we're going forward. We're gonna do a little WrestleDream preview, not match by match. We're gonna talk about some highlights, some things we're excited for, maybe some things we're not. And then lastly, we're going to do a little get to know your host. We want you guys to know who we are, what we're about, and how our affinity for wrestling came about, and what wrestlers we like, what shows we watch. Just familiarize yourself with us because this is our show, and we kind of went in kind of cold turkey, cold open last time, just right through the fat. So a little bit, housewarming gift for you guys. Jordan, tell me about Bad Blood, buddy.
All right. Well, it was definitely an interesting show. Um, Obviously, it opened up with Punk and McIntyre in Hell in a Cell, which was, I mean, that was the main match I think everybody wanted to see. Um, and it was definitely what you expect Hell in a Cell to be. It was violent, it was bloody. At one point, Punk legitimately almost killed Drew McIntyre uh, with the table leg. So yeah, it was definitely crazy. McIntyre took that bump off missing the Claymore, and he hit the edge of the steel steps, and I think everybody thought he broke his back. He had to get staples in his head after the match. Punk was really selling it like you know, he had to get oxygen, like he couldn't walk after the match. So it was definitely everything a Hell in a Cell should be, the culmination of a rivalry. Uh, and then what else happened? We they had I'm not gonna go in order. I can't remember the order. They had Damien and Finn, kind of not. It wasn't all that great of a match. I mean, it was okay.
Mm.
Damien Priest won. Kind of disappointed in that. Kind of thought Finn needed it, as we said last time. But Damien won, so that I mean that kind of ends their little rivalry, and he'll go off to start a program with somebody else. I don't really know what that does for Finn, where he goes from here.
Well, he's still the tag
Uh,
team champion, right?
yeah, he's still a tag team champion. I guess maybe that's where they'll kind of focus him.
He never defends or anything.
No, yeah, him and they just kind of have the belts and just walk around with them. So I don't I don't know what their plan is for that. They had Bailey and Nia Jax. Nia Jax won. They teased Tiffany Stratton cashing in, and then Nia Jax sat up like the Undertaker, and Tiffany got scared and didn't do it. So that was all that really happened in that match. Uh, and What else happened? They have Rhea and Liv. Probably one of the probably the worst match endings I think I've seen in quite a while.
We called it
Like,
though. We called it.
yeah, we did talk about Raquel coming back and everything. It's just too bad it was so piss poor. I mean, watching it live, it was so confusing. And then reading about it afterwards, like, yeah, that makes sense that they botched this so bad. Raquel, well, first, Dom, I thought when he fell out of the cage, he was gonna break his neck. I didn't like he fell like head first. I was like, holy my God. And then he gets hung up on from the cage like a pinata, and then Rhea comes with the kendo stick, and she's hitting him with it, and then all of a sudden Raquel comes out, and like you can see kind of in the background that the referee's trying to like turn away, like he doesn't see it, and then like Raquel throws Rhea into the ring, and the referee kind of turns his back, and I'm just like, dude, just admit that y'all screwed this up and disqualify her at this point. Like you can't ignore that. So they finally did disqualify Liv, and then Raquel put Liv on top of Rhea, like I'm assuming they were supposed to do, but obviously they've been match ended in disqualification at that point. Um, so yeah, definitely not done well at all.
Hmm.
Uh, kind of feel bad for Raquel, kind of being brought back after she's been gone for a while, and that's that's where that's how that whole thing ended up.
Might have been her fault.
But yeah, but now I'm assuming that her and uh, Rhea will have some kind of a program again.
Hmm.
And then last but not least, you had Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns versus Solo and Jacob Fatu. Uh, Big time tag team match. Was a pretty good match, back and forth as it usually is. Roman was just kind of like, doing what he does on this, when he's on the apron, just kind of looking back, talking to the crowd. That was pretty funny.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, basically it didn't really get interesting till the end. Uh, Cody, he took that splat, he splashed Jacob Fatu off the top rope, that was crazy.
Yeah.
Um, and then obviously the big return we all thought was happening. Jimmy Uso, he shows up, helps Roman and Cody win the match, and kind of sitting there thinking, okay, that's it's okay for Bad Blood, and then Cody and Roman face off. Well, first, getting ahead of myself, Roman and Jimmy help Cody after the Bloodline starts attacking Cody.
Hmm.
Then they face off. Roman hands him the title. Cody holds it above his head, and then the final boss, The Rock, shows up. Crowd goes absolutely insane, and then he's standing there, still holding the People's Championship he got for some reason. I don't know why he's carrying that around. Uh, I guess he feels comfortable holding a title. Uh,
Fucking Brahma Bull on it.
yeah, the Brown Bull title. I don't. Yeah, but hey, it's he's the final boss, The Rock. He can do what he wants. And then he's up there and he kind of does like this, like one, two, three, and then kind of goes like that. So I'm assuming he'll explain that at some point down the line. But that was really Bad Blood. It was an okay pay-per-view. The returns were pretty cool. It sets up stuff that's going to happen later on.
Hmm.
Um, there's didn't really set up any kind of feuds for down the road. It kind of just culminated a few of them.
Yeah. Well.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, but that was really the main thing coming out of this was The Rock coming back, Jimmy Uso coming back. Where does that take the Bloodline story from here? Where does that take Cody's story from here? Um, but yeah, that was really the gist of it.
CM Punk on Raw pretty much said, "I'm going home until Crown Jewel's over." No,
Yeah, pretty much. He's like, I don't want to be a part of that show.
yeah, yeah. Uh, and then obviously, I mean, The Rock didn't show up on Raw. Maybe he'll show up on SmackDown.
Yeah, well, I think Roman's supposed to be on SmackDown. He's supposed to talk about this stuff, so I'm assuming he'll probably address it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, let's just Survivor Series. We expect Bloodline versus Bloodline. I would assume. Do you think it's going to be revealed that The Rock has been orchestrating everything, or do you think he's going to take the Ulafala?
Yeah,
Ulafala,
he's
right? Yeah, he's going to take
yeah, Ulafala, yeah.
he's going to take it from Solo. How do you think that's going to work?
Um, well, I think it's probably going to be The Rock kind of orchestrating things behind the scenes. Um, because I think there was a clip. I don't know if it was a fan clip or if it was an actual WWE camera shot of like when The Rock came out that Solo was kind of saying that, you know, The Rock's on our side type thing.
Yeah, it's all going
Um,
like that.
so I don't know. So I don't know if it's going to be. I don't think he's just going to straight up take it because then you're kind of just throwing Solo to the side.
That's not a bad thing.
No, but uh, as far as what they want to do, I can't imagine they would after putting that much stock in Solo for all this time. I can't imagine they're just going to want to throw him away for The Rock, even though obviously that would be good because The Rock is infinitely better than Solo, but The Rock's not going to be there all the time either. So Um, I think it'd probably be more of like, hey, The Rock has been the one, you know, like elevating Solo, like pushing him to take over, to kick Roman Reigns out of the spot of tribal chief, and maybe like as like The Rock is his wise man, so to speak, some type of thing like that. Where he's giving Solo, the young tribal chief, advice on how to do this, how to take this over, so something like that.
Okay. Is there a world is there a scenario where he's the high chief and he's above the tribal chief now, or do you think it's going to be a wise man type of he's an advisor?
I think it's gonna be a wise man type of thing, or he's gonna be like, yeah, like the guy behind the scenes who's been orchestrating everything, you know, pushing all of Roman's guys out,
Right,
um, and bringing in this new blood that's going to be loyal to him
right.
and only him, and really taking over as yeah, like the guy in the shadows.
Yeah. So The Rock, Solo Sokoa, the Tongans, Jacob Fatu versus Roman, Cody, the Usos, Sami Zayn.
Oh, you think Cody's gonna, or you this for like Survivor Series?
Yeah.
You think Cody's still gonna be involved at that point?
I have no reason to believe he won't be. I mean, well, he got well, okay, all right. I guess he did get attacked by Kevin Owens after the show.
Yeah, that was like a fan thing like that. Oh yeah, I wanted to ask, how did you feel about them? It wasn't like an actual them filming it. It was more of like fans filming it in the back, backstage or outside type of thing. Like they didn't even really, and they're kind of acting like this was a thing, not something we planned, but it was like a shoot type thing, even though obviously it wasn't. But they're kind of making it seem like it was.
Yeah. Um, it's creative. I guess creative is the term I would use. It's a little outside the box, and sometimes in wrestling, outside of the box is good. Um, I my first thought is when people fight backstage, usually my reaction is, well, why is that being filmed right now? Why is someone with a camera there?
Yeah,
So it makes sense that someone with a cell phone camera would film it because everyone has a cell phone now.
yeah,
I liked it. Do I really want to boo Kevin Owens? No, we just, we sometimes I feel like, we go through cycles where people are heels and we just want them to be baby faces. And, he had that whole program with Stone Cold where he was a heel and then finally he goes babyface and everyone loves him.
yeah.
So much that when we go to Royal Rumble 2023,
Mhm.
he's people want him to beat Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't know that I really want to boo Kevin Owens. You know, the thing I worry about is everyone talks about when will Cody turn heel, and I really worry that it's going to be an AEW type of deal where he just doesn't want to be a heel again. I mean, that's why his tenure in AEW ultimately ended. I think it's
Yeah.
because he wouldn't turn heel and everyone hated him.
Yeah. I mean, I think it I think it's different for Cody right now because he's obviously still insanely popular with the merch sales and the reaction he gets when he comes out.
Sure.
Um, so I think a heel turn in WWE would be better. Um, I don't. I think he would be open to it if the circumstances were right. Um, but right now, I think it's just kind of like a John Cena type thing where there's a desire to see what that would look like,
Yeah.
but he's so insanely popular. He's so big in merchandise sales. He's so big with the kids. He's like a perfect face of the company that you don't want to make him a bad guy. And I think if he ends up not turning heel, I think that will be the reason why, is because he's just such a great face of the company right now.
I feel like we're at a point right now where a year or two from now we're going to look back and say this is where people started to resent him because let's say we go all the way to Well, I mean, this is a topic we had discussed before the show, something we wanted to talk about because it's, I think, a big talking point in the IWC right now is what's the main event of WrestleMania going to be? Is it Rock and Roman? Is it The Rock and Cody Rhodes? Is it a triple threat? Are people really going to want to? I mean, I guess last year kind of proved that, but it's a different circumstance now. He's not chasing the title anymore. Are people going to want to see him beat The Rock? Are they going to want to see him beat Roman?
No, I think it's becoming more to me apparent that it's probably going to be the Rock and Roman because I feel like for one you have a segment of the fan base that wanted to see the Rock versus Roman,
Yeah,
and I think now even more so because now it makes more sense. Like now there'll actually be reasoning behind it,
right,
where it's like the Rock is trying to take over the bloodline, the Roman's trying to get his title as the tribal chief back. So there's a reason. Like now it would make sense why they would face each other. Whereas before it was just it's The Rock or excuse me, it's Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes and Cody trying to finish the story and then The Rock comes in, gets involved and screws everything up.
right,
Whereas now there would be a legitimate reason, there would be a build to it. Um, and then also too the fact that Cody's reign has just not been that great. Like he's had great matches with guys, and obviously he's still intertwined in the bloodline story. But eventually, I mean, it's going to get to the point where people don't want him involved in it anymore. Like, what's the reasoning why he's still involved in the bloodline? Like, it's Roman's fight now against The Rock and Solo and Jacob Fatu and all of them,
right.
and then his original bloodline with the Usos, Sami Zayn, whoever else. Um, but yeah, I think for WrestleMania, I'm guessing he's not going to be really involved in it at that point. Now he might still be champion, but he's not going to be the main selling point behind the show this time. I don't think.
Um, yeah, that's possible. I mean, you don't always have the champion be in the main event, obviously. I think, clearly, I think Punk is going to be, as barring he's healthy, is going to be in the main event of one night of WrestleMania. I can't imagine you would not have Rock versus Roman in a main event of one WrestleMania. I,
Oh yeah, no, that's
I just, 6 months ago, we're planting the seeds that Rock and Cody are going to have a match. And obviously, I guess the intended venue was SummerSlam, and Rock got hurt filming the movie about Mark Kerr or whatever, Smashing Machine. He got hurt doing
yeah.
it. He couldn't make it, couldn't train in time.
Mhm.
Um, do you just drop that? I mean, you just Rock and Cody are never going to have that singles match.
No, they can have it. Um, I mean, they have a bunch of other shows that they could have that at.
Yeah.
Um,
Sure.
I mean, you could. I don't know what you would have if you do it at like I don't know, Elimination Chamber, or
Mm,
if you do it at the Royal Rumble, or um, I feel like they'll have it at some point.
right.
Um, because there's I think the way they ended or they started the Raw after WrestleMania with The Rock and Cody and kind of teasing that they're going to fight each other at some point.
Right.
I think they'll still have it. It won't be at WrestleMania, but
Mm.
somewhere down the line at one of these shows they'll have it.
Okay. All right. Um, all right. Well, I mean, anything you want to add to Bad Blood? Or I mean, obviously the Crown Jewel announcement was pretty not
Yeah, that was what I was gonna say. That was the other thing I forgot to mention when I was recapping Bad Blood, that Triple H came out and talked about Crown Jewel and showed a new Crown Jewel title that is going to be decided by having I guess the premise is they're going to have the current WWE champion versus the current World Heavyweight champion,
Mhm.
which as of right now is Cody and Gunther.
Yeah.
And I guess it's going to be an annual thing that they're going to do. It's kind
Well,
of what it seemed like.
yeah. I mean, it's funny. We were just talking about Gunther and Cody last week about how I felt like Gunther should have been Cody's um, next feud, next long term feud after WrestleMania. That this match is announced. Um, I mean, look, we obviously had this angle going on with Kevin Owens, so it seems almost like the match is destined to be interfered in, right? I mean, just
Yeah.
putting my booking hat on. How many more losses? And I want to say losses. I mean, he gets his ass beat by the Bloodline. Like 20 minutes later, gets his ass beat by Kevin Owens. How many more losses can Cody take until he doesn't look like in my mind, I guess I should preface this. In my mind, there are always two world championships, but one's always more important than the other.
Yeah.
And I feel like Cody won the more important title for a long time. He's been the more important champion. How many more times can he be in a bad feud, get his ass beat, until it looks like he's not the A champion anymore?
Well, I mean, I kind of think he already kind of looks like he's not the A champion anymore. Just the problem is that I don't think the world title has been all that interesting either.
Mm-hmm.
They really haven't done anything with either one. I mean, Gunther's obviously the champion, and I like Gunther a lot, but I mean, who has he really faced for it? He hasn't really had a high profile title defense
Well,
for it yet. I mean,
he had Orton at Bash in Berlin.
yeah,
Um,
which was good, but I mean, it was kind of there was no real build to it. It was just kind of a match that they had with. I mean, obviously it was a good match because you got two really good wrestlers,
yeah,
but and I think it kind of if they end up having whenever Punk comes back, if he goes after Gunther, that'll be a really big match for
right.
Gunther. It'll be a really high profile uh, title defense for him. But yeah, I think the fact that Cody, he's always getting beat up, he's always ending the shows, just getting laid out. I mean, how many times? Yeah, it's like how many times can he just? He's supposed to be the champion. I mean, you're coming off of Roman being this dominant force where he was, I mean, he didn't take a pin for 3 years. He held the title for all that time, and yeah, you have Cody who finally conquers, the tribal chief, and he's getting. I mean, he gets his ass whooped by The Rock. He gets beat up by Kevin Owens. He gets beat up by the Bloodline. You know, uh, I'm assuming he's going to get beat up by Randy Orton whenever they have that feud.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just yeah, like he comes out there like you know the nice guy, politically correct politician type of character, but it's like dude, you gotta. I can't imagine you have to have some attitude to you also. Like you can't just sit there and be like, and that's why kind of why when they had when Cody went to that backstage segment and told Nick Aldis like, look, this isn't my problem anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like that because it kind of showed that Cody's like, I have my own path to walk that doesn't involve the bloodline or anything else. Like I'm tired of being involved in this because he's just taking a back seat to it, and especially if they start pivoting it towards Roman and The Rock. I mean, he's going to become an afterthought at that point. So yeah, I think this whole reign is really it's really kind of not hurt his image because he's obviously still really popular and everything like we said, but yeah, it's starting to become ridiculous how many times he ends up on the receiving end of these beatings,
Yeah.
just looking like a loser.
Um, I'm reminded of Hangman Adam Page's title reign in AEW, where they go that, back then, that long stretch from Full Gear to Revolution where there's no pay per view. And he's the champion for 3.5 months. And while that's going on, the MJF and CM Punk feud is going on. And it totally overshadowed Hangman Page. He looked like the B attraction on his own show.
Yeah,
Every week, CM Punk and MJF are going out on Dynamite and killing every segment.
yeah,
And we get to Revolution and Hangman. He's not. The title has been devalued because it's not the most important thing on the show. And I worry that with Cody. because I mean, let's just be honest. We both love Cody Rhodes. I've loved Cody Rhodes for 7 years now. I mean, I've been a big fan.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that he's a champion, but you got to. He has the potential to be like, I think. I mean, in some respects he is, but he can be as big as Austin or Hogan. I feel like he's that
Yeah.
loved by a group of the fans, but they just. I don't. Is it fair to say that a weakness of Triple H's is that he can't book babyface champions? Is that fair to say?
Um, I mean, yeah, I think it's well, for one thing, I think it's just the fact that this bloodline thing just sucks up so much energy
Yeah.
that I mean, regardless of who the champion is, even if it wasn't Cody, I mean, if it was, somebody else, it would still be the same issue. Is that everything that goes on right now, it involves the bloodline.
Hmm.
And, you know, anything else you have going is going to take a back seat. So I think that's kind of the problem he's got right now. Um, and also too, I don't think there's a lot of guys right now that you could realistically, have a feud with that would be this big time feud.
Hmm.
Like obviously Cody's had Roman for a long time as that was his big feud. Um, but I mean, who else is there that you could have him go up against and it would be really interesting to the fans besides obviously probably Randy. Um, but as far as like, main event world title match, two big stars, two big time guys going up against each other. Like besides Roman and maybe Randy, who else is there? Maybe LA Knight. I mean,
As a heel, or
yeah, I'm just trying to throw out, guys who are big time guys, not just, him going up against just some random person. I mean, obviously he went up against AJ and Kevin Owens, who are two big time guys. I mean, AJ's older and hasn't really been involved in anything prominent. And then Kevin Owens has just kind of been floating around. So
yeah, I mean LA Knight. You know, LA Knight's obviously beloved because of all the gifts he has, but he could be a great heel. And
yeah,
it's. I mean, I go back to why is Nick Aldis the general manager of SmackDown when he's one of the best heels working in wrestling today?
yeah,
Nick Aldis could be a great guy to feud with Cody Rhodes. And I don't know if eventually that's a program they're willing to invest in, but they have history together. I mean, I'm not saying obviously you don't necessarily call back to that because it was in the NWA and Ring of Honor, but those guys have experience working together, and Aldis is a great heel.
yeah,
I don't know. I just if you have a babyface champion, the blueprint that the WWE kind of invented is that you make a heel factory of guys he can work with.
yeah.
And they just not done it. I felt like they
No,
did a good job of it on his ascent to the title, and now they've you know, LA Knight's a babyface. Gunther's on another show, and I don't know, but
yeah.
anyway,
If you also kind of you look back like at the previous, phase of company in Cena. I mean, you look at the guys that he had to work with. I mean, he had, bigger time guys. He had Edge, Randy Orton, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Batista. I'm probably forgetting people in between, but there were a multitude of ways
John
of
Laurinaitis.
matches you could put him in. Who?
John Laurinaitis.
Oh, oh yeah, that fucking goof. But yeah, I mean, you have that, and then even you keep going back, when like you had, the Attitude Era, when you had Austin, you had The Rock, you had Undertaker, you had Kane, you had Triple H, Jericho, Kurt Angle, you had all these main event guys who at any one point could be involved in the world title picture and it would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now they've just done such a piss poor job of creating guys who you could legitimately see going for a WWE championship that, who's Cody got to work with.
Right.
They've kind of made it pretty much the bloodline, and that's it. I mean, there's guys who could potentially be, big time guys, but they haven't, pushed them that way. So it's kind of hard to just interject them into the title picture all of a sudden.
Yeah. All right. Well, um, Predictions for Crown Jewels main event: Cody versus Gunter.
Are we sure it's not going to be Goldberg versus Gunther?
What isn't a title versus title?
Oh yeah, that's right. They're doing the title versus title thing. Forgot about that. Yeah. I don't even know who'd win that match, honestly.
For a minute, I was like, "Are you insinuating that Cody's going to lose to Goldberg between now and Crown Jewel?"
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The way Goldberg was talking after he at Bad Blood, it seemed like he was going to be involved in it somehow. But um, yeah, I don't even know who. I mean, who loses that match? I mean, do you have Cody lose to Gunther, or to build up the world heavyweight title more, or
I have a feeling Cody's going to lose via interference from Kevin Owens, but we'll see. Only time will tell.
yeah, be good. I don't really ever have any interest in the Crown Jewel shows anyway. So
Yeah, let's talk about this real quick. So the first show in Saudi Arabia was Greatest Royal Rumble. Is that correct?
uh, ye- I think so.
I think so.
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was the greatest Royal Rumble.
Jordan and I watched that together, and I don't think either of us have watched a Saudi Arabian show since then. Is that correct?
No, I usually just look up what happened
Yeah.
on the internet the next day, but I don't actually watch the shows.
Yeah, we'll leave that at that. And I don't think this is going to be any different. I don't think we're going to watch this. That's why we have YouTube. Uh,
Yeah.
so moving on from last week's pay per view to this week's pay per view, AEW WrestleDream in the Tacoma Dome, which has got to be the dumbest name I've ever heard for an arena. But anyways, the Tacoma Dome in Tacoma, Washington. The main event: Bryan Danielson versus Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship. If Bryan Danielson loses, he has to, not retire, but his full time career is ending. Although sometimes they sound like he's never going to come back. That's what the way they act. But anyways, uh,
Yeah.
this is there's something to be said about the premium live event model for WWE. 5 matches on these, um, which monthly. These second tier, I always want to call them pay per views, but PLE.
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
second tier premium live events like Bad Blood, usually a 5 match format versus the Royal Rumble or WrestleMania or Survivor Series or SummerSlam's a little bit bigger.
Hmm.
Right? I mean, I got that pretty close. Whereas AEW, these pay per views are $50, so they really fill them out.
Yeah.
And we have quite a card for this pay per view. I'll go down the line real quick. Um, on the pre-show, Atlantis Jr. versus Brian Cage for the Ring of Honor World Television Championship. Uh, and then that's all we have for the pre-show so far, the 0 hour. So the main show is 10 matches, I think. Mark Briscoe versus Chris Jericho with the Ring of Honor World Championship on the line. Darby Allin versus Brody King. Jack Perry versus Katsuyori Shibata for the AEW TNT Championship.
Hmm.
Will Ospreay versus Ricochet versus Konosuke Takeshita in a triple threat match for the AEW International Championship. The Young Bucks versus Private Party for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. Mariah May versus Willow Nightingale for the AEW Women's World Championship. Hangman Adam Page versus Jay White. We have the MXM Collection versus the Acclaimed. For those who don't know, MXM Collection are the maximum male models from WWE. We have Hologram versus the Beast Mortos and Bryan Danielson versus Moxley, which I already mentioned for the World Championship. Quite the pay per view. Uh,
Yeah. It's a pretty big card.
and the Hologram versus Mortos match is a 2 out of 3 falls contest. Um, so Jordan and I will be watching that together tomorrow. probably into the wee hours of the night because these pay-per-views are ridiculously long. Although I
Yeah.
guess for $50 you're getting your money's worth, I suppose. Um, what match are you most looking forward to? I guess to start, let's get the bad out of the way. What match are we least interested in?
Uh, let's see. Well, for me, I don't really care about the hologram versus Mortos match. I don't have really any interest in it at all.
I bet that's gonna
Um,
be. I agree with you, but I bet that's gonna be a banger of a match. Those two are gonna. I bet they're gonna tear the house down. But fair,
yeah, I mean, they probably will. Yeah, I don't, I don't care to watch that at all.
sure.
Um,
Three Falls is a little crazy for kind of a throwaway match on the show, but
yeah, yeah, um, but yeah, that match I don't really care about watching. I mean, everything else I can kind of, I can kind of be. I think I'm interested in most everything else, just to kind of see what happens.
mhm.
Um, I don't like Jack Perry, so I don't really care about that match. Um, but it'd be interesting to see how, it's a title match, so there's definitely interest just in that aspect of it.
Mhm.
Um, I think as far as the one I'm looking forward to the most is probably going to be Hangman versus Jay White,
Yes,
uh,
sir. Yes.
because they've been building up Hangman for a while now. He finally triumphed over Swerve. Um, Jay White just coming back. It's been this first, high profile match back just to kind of see how they play that. Um, and plus two, it'll be a good match because they're both great wrestlers. So
Yeah.
um, that's probably the match I'm looking forward to most. The triple threat be interesting. See how that goes. Having Takeshita involved in the Ricochet Will Ospreay thing.
Yeah.
But also I like Ospreay, so that adds interest for me. Um, and then the world title match, just obviously to see, who wins. I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to be, this, banger of a match, but it's a world title match, so
Did you see the clip where John Moxley ran into that metal wall uh, Wednesday night? Uh, he,
I did not know.
Danielson grabbed him by the back of the head and was like bulldogging him. They were fighting backstage,
Uh,
very like lackadaisically, like they were kind of like stumbling back. It looked terrible, but
yeah,
Danielson grabbed Moxley by the back of the head and was ramming him into a bulldogging him into like a hangar door. And Moxley just gave him the worst run and took the just the laziest looking bump on the hangar door and then turned around and like stumbled away and did like
yeah,
a front flip. It looked terrible. And the clip's been going around online and it just if he wins that title from Danielson and he's the guy that beats him and ends this run, I am really gonna be upset. And not like in a John Moxley's being a good heel kind of way. I'm really gonna be pissed off.
yeah,
Um, but all signs point to Danielson's not far from home in this match in Tacoma. All signs point to this being the end of the road for the American Dragon. Um, I agree with you. Hangman Page versus Jay White. God, this is going to be a good match.
yeah,
Uh, one thing I miss is Swerve Strickland will be returning. Tacoma is his hometown. I would assume
hmm
it's going to be to address MVP and Shelton Benjamin. I would love to see Swerve versus Shelton Benjamin on this show, but it's already, there's already a lot of matches, so I don't know how that'll work. But
yeah. Does uh does does Bobby Lashley show up at all?
mm,
They have him show up and have the Hurt Syndicate. That's what it sounds like it's gonna be called.
yeah,
Are they gonna have them come out and start something with Swerve or
maybe Bobby Lashley shows up tonight. That'd be interesting. That'd be good. I would love to see a Bobby Lashley versus Swerve Strickland feud. I would love those two. Just the sound of that, those two in the ring together.
yeah,
To
yeah, because last year at WrestleDream Edge showed up, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so in back-to-back years you have a big time debut.
Hmm.
from WWE.
Yeah, I'd love to see Lashley show up at this show. But yeah, I'm like you. I'm looking forward to Hangman Page versus Jay White. I love Jay White. I love Hangman Page. Two of my favorite wrestlers working today. I really wouldn't be mad if either of them win, although I'd like to see Jay White win. And I think I would assume he's going to be heavily involved in that Grand Slam in February in Australia, even though
Hmm.
he's from New Zealand. I feel like he's going to be really involved in that show.
Yeah,
So you know, but anyways, match I'm least looking forward to, just like you, is Jack Perry versus Shibata, because I love Shibata and I don't think he's not gonna win, and I hate Jack Perry, and it's gonna be upsetting. But anyways, and that,
yeah,
not I don't hate him like, oh, he's been doing it being a good heel. I hate him in that, like, he's holding this title and holding the division back because he sucks so bad.
yeah,
He's so fucking boring. He looks like a bum
yeah,
hipster who needs to shave, like lost his
yeah,
race. He wrestles okay, but he's like 5'5". He doesn't look menacing. I don't know. I don't like anything about Jack Perry. I don't see any redeeming qualities to him being the TNT champion. Someone else needs to get that belt off of him, and maybe the shows will be a little bit more interesting. But anyways,
yeah.
yeah, I'm sure next week we'll have the Meltzer ratings, and I have a feeling Osprey, Ricochet, and Takeshita. That's like going to be like a 6-star match.
Probably, yeah. Anything Osprey and related is always. I mean, that's probably what 4-star minimum for his matches.
I think Osprey versus Ricochet on Dynamite a few weeks ago got 4.5 stars, and it was sort of not even really a match. I mean, there was a double pinfall and it continued, but it didn't have a conclusive ending.
Yeah,
They wrestled the match as if it was going to have an interference, like they didn't do anything substantial, and it still got 4.5 stars. So,
yeah,
anyways, we're not big Dave Meltzer fans. More to come on that later. But anyways,
yeah, yeah,
um, all right. We've
yeah.
been going for about a half hour now, maybe a little over a half hour now. So we'll get into, I think that the point of this show was to tell you a little bit more about ourselves, why we're doing this podcast, how we got involved or interested in wrestling, and what shows we watch, who we like to watch wrestle, who are some of our favorite wrestlers. Because we're the host of the show, and I guess it's important to have an understanding of what we like and what we don't like. So Jordan, how old were you when you got exposed to wrestling, and what was the show, what was the episode, the pay-per-view, the wrestler, who was it, what was it?
Um, let's see. The funny thing was, I was trying to think back to that definitive moment, that definitive match, that suit wrestler that I saw, and I was like, oh my God, I want to watch this. I want to be involved with this. And it's really, I really can't think of anything definitive that I just, as far back as I can remember, I just always loved wrestling. I've always loved, watching the shows and, you know, even watching the older stuff, buying the DVDs, buying the action figures, the merchandise. Um, when I was growing up as a kid, my favorite wrestler was John Cena.
But how old were
And
you started watching? Do you remember?
I don't even, I can't even honestly remember the age, probably like whatever, maybe like 2005, maybe, with like the earliest I think I can remember. Um, and yeah, I was a big Cena fan, and watching all the shows, Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, and then buying the old DVDs to watch the older stuff with Austin Rock, Flair, Dusty Rhodes, whatever, you know. But yeah, I've just always loved it. I've always enjoyed watching it. My dad loved, watching it and talking to me about it. My uncle loved watching wrestling, and he, talked about it. They used to go to the shows, and my grandpa was actually, a wrestler for a little bit. Wrestled like Wahoo McDaniel and guys like that. So yeah, I've kind of always just been around it, always been exposed to it. So I don't think there was like a definitive moment of like seeing this happen, like, oh my God, I'm hooked now. Like I've always just kind of always been into it. And that's, carried on to this day.
What's the first pay-per-view you remember watching? Is there one that sticks out in your head that you
The one that always sticks out in my mind, I know I don't think it's the first one that I watched, but the one that always just kind of pops in my head when I try to remember back would probably be WrestleMania 22.
okay?
That's the one that I always, even though I'm pretty sure I saw other ones before that. That one's the first one that always pops into my head because I always remember the triple threat match with Kurt Angle, Randy Orton, and Rey Mysterio, and Rey winning the title. The Money in the Bank ladder match that year. Um, the hardcore match with Edge and Mick Foley, like just all those matches, I can just remember all of them pretty vividly. And I even though, like I said, I'm pretty sure I saw other ones before that, but that one just is always the one that pops in my head first.
Okay. Uh,
What about you?
so my uncle is I mean, still is a huge wrestling fan. My mom's younger brother. And I remember when I was like 4, maybe even younger, but it was at least I was at the oldest I was 4 years old, but he brought me action figures for Christmas of wrestlers, and I did not watch wrestling. I don't know why he thought that would like I would like these action figures, but it was like Undertaker and The Rock, and I wish I still had them because they were really nice, like very well made, like uh realistic looking figurines or whatever of some wrestlers, but that had to have been in 2001 or maybe even earlier. And they would come over for like Christmas break, like, around that time, and I'd watch wrestling with him. I'm wanting to say the first episode of SmackDown, of really of any wrestling, but it was of SmackDown, was the Supermarket Brawl.
Oh,
When that had to have been the first episode I'd ever watched, and I thought that's what wrestling was like every week.
oh yes,
Which
yeah, just dudes fighting anywhere, anytime.
yeah, like I mean, that feud is awesome. But yeah, that's the first episode I ever watched. I got really involved. I started really watching probably 2007 for the first time.
Mm,
Um, and I think the first pay-per-view I ever watched was probably SummerSlam 2007, like
okay.
watch live.
Yeah.
And then I would watch intermittently from then on up until probably about 2017
Mm,
when I started watching Raw. Well, no, 2016, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah. And then that's when we started watching wrestling together. We started watching
Mm,
stuff together.
mm,
But yeah, I mean, 2007, I really hit the ground running. I was a huge Cena. I mean, everyone our age, we were born in the 96 for Jordan, 97 for myself. Uh,
yeah.
I think everyone was a Cena fan, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was the guy, like
Our
the
age.
man
Yeah.
in our generation.
Yeah. I feel like he's our Hulk Hogan, or he's our Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, like,
Pretty much, yeah.
um, yeah, so we're big Cena fans. But anyways,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, he beat Randy Orton for the. I guess he retained the title. He already had it still, but yeah. And then I was a
Yeah.
big CM Punk fan. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and I guess after Punk left, I didn't care anymore because I was such a big Punk fan. And then 2016, I started watching again. 2017, and because it was the only thing on TV to watch, it was the only wrestling you could watch on TV. I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
on like the Pop Network or whatever.
Yeah, and it got really bad for a while, like before Triple H took over. Because I don't remember the exact year it was, but I kind of got out of watching wrestling mostly altogether. Like I really wasn't watching WWE that much. I wasn't watching TNA. AEW wasn't a thing. Uh, so it just my interest level was just you know probably was at an all time low just because I mainly would watch like the older stuff.
Yeah.
Like I would watch like the territory stuff. I would watch the Attitude Era, the Ruthless Aggression Era. I would watch that stuff. But as far as the newer stuff that was coming out every week, it wasn't good.
Yeah.
Like it was just really goofy. It was really dumb. Then they got into the pandemic era, and so a lot of that stuff was goofy. There was some good stuff, but I wasn't really watching that either. And then I don't think my interest really got peaked again until I started watching like AEW with you,
Hmm.
and then Triple H took over creative with WWE, and the shows got infinitely better. And they had all the Bloodline stuff and Cody and Seth Rollins and everything else, and that really reignited my interest level to where now I'm really involved with it again.
Yeah.
But for a while there, it was just I was not interested at all in any of the newer content.
Yeah. I think I say this all the time. AEW is the best thing to happen in wrestling since the NWO, maybe. Probably because
Yeah,
it, it injected the business with um well, the WWE needed competition. It very,
yeah,
very really needed competition. It gave wrestlers an opportunity to go somewhere else and make good money. So it raises the level of everything. And then obviously, I don't I think it also kind of contributed to Vince McMahon stepping down a little bit, because I don't I don't think he was really prepared to change anything to compete in a kind of way that was because at one point AEW was doing over a million, I mean they had the viewers
yeah,
problems right now, you know what I mean? So,
yeah, yeah.
they needed a new booker, they needed someone to run it differently because things needed to change and I think not primarily, not even predominantly, but in some way it contributed to Triple H taking over. So yeah, you know,
Yeah, well,
like
competition is good for in any business.
yeah,
Like
absolutely.
that's why I said competition is good for the consumer, because it makes everyone have to raise their game up. And yes, I've loved all the new stuff that we've gotten to see. Obviously, yeah, for the wrestlers, it's great because they have another place to go now. And you've seen how many WWE wrestlers have gone over to AEW,
Yep.
and it's a really great time for wrestling right now.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, like I mean, yeah, that period in the late 2010s was just rough. WWE was just not, it's crazy to think how far it's come in terms of quality, but and
Yeah,
it's so good back then. It's hard to believe they could mess it up, but
yeah, it was bad, and especially like when TNA tapered off,
yeah,
and you could just see it. Like it was just, I mean, the shows. I mean, and plus it was all the PG stuff, which was just which I knew they were directing it towards kids,
yeah,
and so that kind of leaves out the regular everyday wrestling fan who wanted to see how things were.
yeah,
Not to say you have to have blood and guts every single match, but you gotta be a little edgy. And I think the fact that they've gone back to that now and they're doing more of that,
yeah,
I think is a direct result of AEW doing it now. Even though AEW can go overboard sometimes,
yeah,
but the fact that they're doing it and the fact that people can watch that, I think, is made WWE have to shift their focus and do more of that stuff, be edgier, give that the fans who want to see that type of stuff something to watch on their show.
absolutely. Um, what is your favorite wrestling show? I'm asking this as if I don't know, but anyways, what is your favorite wrestling show to watch today? Like favorite weekly television show to watch today?
Um, I would say probably SmackDown, even though for the most part I don't really sit down and watch the shows from start to finish. I mainly will like I'll obviously keep up to date on everything that's happening,
Yeah.
But there's certain things that happen on the shows that I don't care about and don't want to watch, so I don't. I just I look them up the next day. But as far as the actual weekly show that I'm interested in, probably would be SmackDown because that's where a lot of the big stars are. It's where Cody is. It's where the bloodline is.
Mhm.
And obviously, I'm more interested in WWE than AEW per se. Even though I like AEW as well.
Yeah.
Um, but I would say probably SmackDown is the show that I would say I watch weekly.
Hmm. Jordan's an e-drone. Um, I'm a bigger AEW fan than I am a WWE fan. I review Dynamite every week for the Augusta Free Press, so I watch Dynamite every week. My favorite weekly show, if I had to choose, would be I really like watching Collision. I don't always get to because it's Saturday night and I have a life. Um,
Mhm.
but I think in terms of the booking, the set design, it is the best show I think on TV right now, and the one I enjoy the most. Um, Especially when Punk was booking it, but I still like it. Anyways,
Yeah.
uh,
I also think the fact that you have, we can actually talk about this and be like, hey, what's your favorite show to watch? The fact that there's so many of them
yeah,
going on at one time. I mean, just how great that is, just to have all these different options
yeah,
that you can watch.
yeah. I mean, you have three shows every week for AEW, three shows for WWE. I guess if you like Impact or TNA, there's the Impact show on
Yeah.
Wednesdays. So you know, if there's any TNA fans out there still,
Yeah.
watching it on the what is it, the Axis Network or whatever.
I don't even know what channel they're on at this point. I haven't watched a TNA show and oh God, probably been probably 10 years or so.
Probably been 10 years.
Maybe even more than that. I don't even remember when I stopped watching TNA, but yeah, it's been a long time.
Jordan was a bigger TNA fan than I was. Let's put it that way. Um,
Oh yeah, I used to watch it every week. Watch Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, TNA, all of it.
I don't know how I. I guess probably my uncle was telling me like in like 2008 or nine, probably that TNA was just where the washed up guys go.
It yeah, it got to that point.
Kind of
It
that,
it
and
was good for a while, and then yeah, it just started to be where all the older guys who were kind of past their prime would go and just to kind of get a paycheck.
yeah,
And yeah, it was rough for a while there. Where like and also it was kind of where all the ex WWE guys would go,
yeah,
and they would get pushed over the guys who were there, like the TNA originals.
yeah.
Um, and actually, I kind of wanted to. It kind of a good segue into what I wanted to ask about. Do you think that the fact that AEW is getting all these ex WWE guys, like we were just talking about, the hurt, the hurt business, MVP, Benjamin, Bobby Lashley now, they had Edge come in last year. Obviously, Jericho's been there since the beginning, but they had Moxley and you've had Punk, all these ex WWE guys coming in. Do you think that it's going to become a problem if more and more of these guys go to AEW and kind of overshadow the guys who are, originals or have kind of made their name in AEW? Do you think that will eventually become an issue?
Well, I think it all depends on, and it could become a problem. I think, but AEW does a good job. Has so far done a good job of not. Um, what am I trying to say? There's a mix of originals and former WWE guys in the show, and for the most part, I mean, you look down the line. Danielson, obviously, he's a former WWE guy, but I really think of Danielson more as a professional wrestler than I do a WWE guy.
Yeah.
He was an independent wrestler for so long.
Mhm.
Jack Perry's an original. Okada's from New Japan. Mariah May's from Stardom. So, no one really knows who she is other than being an
Yeah.
AEW person. What are the other champions right now? Mercedes Moné, obviously former WWE person, someone who forgive it as very much as she was a former WWE person.
Yeah,
I think the problem would be that, like in TNA, when the main event Mafia was pretty much running the show,
yeah,
and it's just Scott Steiner, Kevin Nash, Kurt Angle, they're just being shoved down. Booker T, they're just being shoved down your throat every week. I
yeah.
feel like that's where the problem lies. That's where it becomes an issue.
Mm.
Um, I think the Edge thing really showed them that like you can't just keep signing former WWE wrestlers and it's gonna like cert it's not gonna help your business immediately. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You can't just have them
because I think
operating.
yeah, because I think my thinking of it is like you look at like Edge, he came in and immediately he was put in a big thing with Christian, and he won the TNT Championship.
Yeah.
And then you have obviously Mercedes Moné comes in and she becomes TBS champion. Uh, and I mean, if you're bringing in, Bobby Lashley, and you're having the Hurt business, a version of the Hurt business in there, they're going to, I'm assuming, be in the main event picture in some form or fashion. Moxley obviously is a former WWE guy, and he's been world champion three times at this point now.
Yeah.
Um, Jericho's obviously a former WWE guy, but he's been there from the beginning, so he's not really that big of a thing. And then Swerve came from WWE, but he kind of made his name in AEW. He's become a big star
Yeah.
in AEW. So I think the problem is that, and then Ricochet. I mean, Ricochet just got there, and he's already in a a title picture. Um, so I think my issue is that if you keep having these guys come in from WWE, then it's kind of like they get brought in, and as soon as they get brought in, they kind of get put into a title picture, or they get put into a big feud. Then you kind of have guys who, like, you have like Daniel Garcia. I saw that he's staying, or he
Yeah.
said he's staying. He's a guy who's been there for a while. Who they've been kind of floating the idea of him becoming a major player. Uh,
Well, he might be
and
the
yeah,
it looks I mean from the looks of it, he might be the next TNT champion.
yeah, yeah. But then it's like if Edge didn't get hurt, he would have been TNT champion still. I'm assuming. Um, and yeah, I mean, you have Jack Perry who has it right now, who is a guy who's an original from there. But if you look around the show, a lot of it is people who you were in WWE that came over, and now they're the major people on the show. So eventually, it just kind of gets to the point where yeah, you need big stars to draw attention. And I'm
Yeah.
not trying to say that they shouldn't have any former WWE stars in the main event picture, because if you bring in Bobby Lashley, you bring in Mercedes Moné, whatever you think of her,
Yeah.
you bring in Edge or Adam Copeland, they're going to be involved in stuff because they have big name recognition, and you need that. But eventually it gets to the point where it's like, how much is too much? Ex WWE guys.
Well, I mean, you know, then they also have guys like Hangman and MJF and Jay White, Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, who have never worked in WWE, and they're kind of always in pretty high profile spots. So
Yeah,
it. I mean, right now, obviously, with Danielson holding the title, uh, it doesn't help what I'm saying, but it's not like guys, former WWE guys are always holding titles. Mark Briscoe, Ring of Honor champion, never in WWE.
yeah. No, it's not all of them all over the show.
Yeah, but
It's
I
just
understand
like,
what you're saying. I mean, I think you know, Punk. The thing with Punk is, and I feel like a lot of people don't acknowledge this, is that it wasn't that he was a former WWE guy; it was that he hadn't wrestled in forever, right?
yeah,
And then you brought in Adam Cole and you brought in Danielson, and I feel like Tony Khan is kind of addicted to that kind of reaction that those three guys got in a 3 month span or whatever, a 2 month span. Not even that, I guess. I guess Punk came in late August and they came in at the end of September. So, anyway,
mm,
so, you have all those guys come in and they get that crazy reaction from the crowd, and you want that every time someone shows up. And yeah, Adam Copeland's reaction was huge at WrestleDream,
Mhm.
but it's not going to increase your ratings. And I feel like after the Adam Copeland thing, he realized that this isn't going to keep jumpstarting business. We need to, you know, kind of
Yeah.
get in with the story, and I don't think they've really found that yet. I mean, because the ratings are just getting worse, and
Yeah, they just have what 329,000 people.
yeah, they had the Tuesday show and they had 300, which they didn't market the Tuesday show until a week before it was going to be on Tuesday. So I don't really know. I don't remember
That's
the
ridiculous.
they just it was like Wednesday Night Dynamite. They were like, yeah, next week it's going to be on Tuesday, and it's like, you know, I mean, it just didn't make any. I mean, and then the card was a good show. It was well paced. A lot of things happened, and it didn't feel like it was crammed in. But like you had Randy Orton on NXT. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just hard to I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess they weren't trying to really compete with NXT. Obviously, that wasn't their interest. They were trying to do a
Yeah.
go for this pay-per-view, but I don't know. I mean, you know, we've talked about this for years now. I mean, really for years now is how do you generate new viewers? What feud can you do
Yeah.
that bring people in the same way that Rock and Austin did in the late 90s, the same way
Hmm.
that DX and Bret Hart did, or DX and Stone Cold did in the late 90s, the same way the
Hmm.
NWO did in the late 90s. Is how
Hmm.
do you bring in viewers, you know not get people back into wrestling, or get people who were in AEW that aren't now. How do you bring in people who weren't watching at all before? And I don't, I guess if I had the answer to that, I would be booking a show somewhere. But
Yeah.
I mean, they have to figure that out, and it's not going to be, you know, through great matches. It's going to be through. I mean, I know this is kind of this is kind of rhetoric at this point, but to tell a story, to get guys interested in personalities.
Yeah.
And it's why seeing someone like Ricky Starks on the bench is crazy, because that guy's so entertaining in the ring, with the mic in his hand, backstage, anywhere. The guy's entertaining.
Yeah.
I don't know. Um, one episode of the podcast, we will talk about that, about what we think they can do, what storylines, what feuds they can do. Because I don't, what they're doing right now is not working, unfortunately. Um,
Yeah. Although they just get a big TV deal, so
Well, they did, yeah, they did, and so, and eventually the ratings will not be an indicator of anything, because they're going to have the shows, half the audience is going to be viewing on Max, I guess. So,
yeah.
but right now the ratings are and I mean the Nielsen ratings are kind of flawed to begin with, because does it count YouTube TV? I don't, I don't think it does. It's cable, right? I mean, and
Yeah.
so how does that really affect, you know I mean, there's, the science of the Nielsen rating is to be questioned anyways. It's not the most accurate representation of TV audiences, but how
Yeah.
many people are watching on streaming? Because TBS and TNT, you you have to use certain streaming devices to get those stations. Turner's not available on everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have Fubo, right?
Yeah. I've got Fubo. I can't watch TNT or TBS.
I don't have TNT or TBS. So, if you have Sling, one package gives you the WWE shows, the other one gives you Turner.
Hmm.
So, if you have the $50 Sling package or whatever, and you want to watch WWE, well, you don't have TNT or TBS anymore. Maybe you
Yeah.
have one and not the other. I don't remember how it works. I used to
Mm.
have YouTube TV now.
Yeah.
TV, you get Turner, but that doesn't count in Nielsen rating. I don't care. I know it doesn't. So I don't. People in the it does. It's not considered in the ratings. So
Hmm.
how many people like me are watching on YouTube TV? How many people are watching through Fight TV in Canada and they're not counted?
Hmm.
I don't know. But anyways, that's not really the point.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ratings suck and they're getting worse.
Yeah.
Some of the live crowds are getting better. Like some weeks that you can see that crowds are full, and some weeks they're not. But
Yeah.
Anyways, that wasn't really the point of this conversation. Last point on the itinerary, and I think this is the most fun one. Who are your top 5 favorite wrestlers right now working in the business? And this isn't, this could change. This is flexible. I mean, this is wrestling. Things change.
Yeah.
Kind of your flavor right now. Who are your 5 favorite guys right now as we're speaking, working in the business today? Any company, any show, men or women. We're not doing tag teams, just as singles wrestlers. I think I can speak for both of us. Our favorite tag team is FTR.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a given. They would be on the list if they could be.
Although whenever the Motor City Machine Guns, when they debut, I've always liked the Motor City Machine Guns a lot.
Yeah,
They'll definitely be up there when they show up.
they can wrestle all the great WWE tag teams like JD McDonough and Finn Balor.
Yeah, JD McDonough, Finn Balor, and I don't even know who. Yeah, I don't even know who else.
Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. All the great.
Yeah, all the legendary teams. Yeah, top wrestlers now. Yeah, I was really struggling with this because I was trying to think who my favorites are, and like you said, this list can change. It can, it's flexible. But right now, I'll probably say I'll go. I guess I'll go from 5 to 1.
Well,
So I said my fifth.
before we start, anybody who almost made the list.
Almost made the list. I probably would have. I said Brian Danielson was. I was considering him, but also then I'm like, well, he's going to leave at some point, and he's not going to be a full-time wrestler anymore. So I didn't put him on there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say MJF, but he hasn't been on the show for a while.
Okay.
I don't know who else. I don't know who else. Well, I mean, he hasn't. You're talking about right now. He hasn't been on the show for
For a
a
month,
month.
for less than a month. Well, yeah, no, a month.
Yeah, and even when he came back, I didn't really care about what he was doing then. I
Without
didn't really. Yeah, I mean, like the matches were cool, but um, yeah, I don't know. It just for some reason it wasn't as interesting to me as stuff he was doing before. I don't know how best to describe it, but it just wasn't for me. I mean, it was an interesting idea, the whole American made thing, but with the title and everything. But anyway,
okay.
uh, so yeah, so my fifth was Gunther. Like Gunther a lot. Like I said before, I think he would be higher when he starts getting into more of the high profile matches, like whenever he wrestles Punk, or if him and I don't know if sometime down the line if him and Cody ever clash. If he's involved in more like main event stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I think then he'll be up there in my mind. But he's definitely on the list now. I said 4 was Osprey. So big Osprey fan. Um, I like a lot of his stuff, uh, especially since he's been on AEW and I've been able to see him more. Um, 3, I said Roman Reigns,
Okay.
and like I said, I would probably have him higher if he was around more, but he's gone so much that it's kind of hard for me to have him higher because I kind of want you to be on the shows every week to be able to watch.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
Um, so this one was hard for me because I was considering putting this guy at number 1, but and I guess I'm kind of being a little bit hypocritical on my 1 and 2 because of what I just said about Roman, but I put Cody at 2 and I put Punk at 1.
Whoa, 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 wait, 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 wait. No LA Knight on this list?
No, just because I again he hasn't done a whole lot. I mean, he won the U.S. title, which was a big moment, and but yeah, he hasn't really done anything with it since then. I mean, they've been kind of dancing around him. I guess he's going to defend it against Carmelo Hayes tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Um, But like I said, I mean, before, he was involved with Cena, with Roman. He wrestled for the WWE title, and he looked like he was going to be a main event superstar. But lately, he's just been kind of in the mid card, and that's kind of, not saying I still don't like LA Knight. I like him a lot, and obviously limiting this to five guys is really tough.
Very tough. So
Um,
so Rhodes is two and Punk is one.
yeah, and again, I said like obviously Punk, he's now just left, so you know who knows how long he'll be gone. He was hurt for a while, so
Yeah.
I'm kind of being a little bit hypocritical with how I'm, categorized with Roman not being around and Punk now being gone. But I really like the Punk McIntyre feud a lot, and I like Punk anyway because he can, talk his ass off. And now that he's been able to wrestle a few matches, and those matches are really good. Um, but yeah, that's my list at the moment.
Okay. Um, that's fair. That's a good list. My honorable mentions, MJF, who very narrowly made this. In about another month, he'd be on this list. But MJF's on my honorable mentions. Rey Mysterio is a guy who I've loved for 20 years now,
I
going on.
didn't think about Ray.
And he just is not doing a lot. And I've loved him for so long. It's kind of hard to say he's one of my five favorite right now, but um,
Yeah,
he made this list. Um, Will Ospreay, another honorable mention, a guy I love, who's a deceivingly good promo and can wrestle his ass off. Arguably the best guy in the ring right now. And I think in terms of the run he's been on this year is just insane. In the last, I would say, year and a half, it's been insane. But my five, was yours ranked, or did you're just going down? It was yours was ranked.
yeah, I had him. I kind of ranked him.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna rank them too, just to play ball with you. Number five would be Jay White. I love Jay White's promo. There's something about his delivery that I just love a lot. I love the
Yeah,
Bullet Club Gold, the Bang Bang Gang,
yeah,
and he's good enough in the ring. He knows how to tell a story, how to work a body part. He's not, he's not an all world worker, but he's good. He's pretty. He's better than good. He's very good in the ring, and just a
yeah.
great promo. And he guy takes his appearance seriously. He looks great, especially now. It looks like he's on the juice. But
Yeah.
number four, I'm gonna go LA Knight. Uh,
Okay.
7, 8 years ago, we prayed for someone like this to be in wrestling. A guy with real personality, kind of has that. I'm not going to say he's a ripoff of The Rock because that's not fair. I think
Yeah.
that's good to say, but a lot of wrestlers rip off older wrestlers. But he has that
Yeah.
kind of delivery. He has that charisma, and he's pretty good in the ring. He's 40 years old. He's got some quirks about him, but he's pretty good in the ring and looks great and is as good on the mic as anyone in the world right now. Um, Number three would be Brian Danielson. Uh, as of now, still working actively. The run he's been on this year, and really since last year at WrestleDream when he worked with, actually, I mean, yeah, let's go with that. Last year at WrestleDream, he worked with Zack Sabre Jr. Since then, he's just been on a tear.
Mm,
So many great matches. I mean, you could argue 2024 is the best year of his career in terms of the
yeah.
quality of matches he's had. Um, and I'm really enjoying his run right now. Number two, Zack Sabre Jr. Jordan knows my affinity for Zack Sabre Jr. I pray
Yeah.
that he wins the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Um, this guy can talk. He's handsome. His body's a little, he's a little thin looking. What's the term that Jim Cornette would use? Buggy whipped.
Buggy whipped arm. Yeah.
Buggy whipped arm. He does kind of look like the Slender Man, but in the ring, this guy is, I think, the best in the world at at catch as catch can grappling. The marquee says wrestling. Zack Sabre Jr. is a wrestler,
Yeah.
and I think probably the maybe the best guy submission specialist in wrestling history. He's so good in the ring. Um, Number one, CM Punk. I I can't. I love the guy. I
Yeah.
He was in AEW. It was the peak of AEW. When he got back to WWE, I think business really started picking up. Um, it's like Kevin Durant joining the Warriors. I mean, the guy just made. They already had a great locker room, and then you add a guy like CM Punk, and it's like, wow, this is a stable of wrestlers right now. Like you look at the top 15 guys in the WWE, CM Punk makes it that much better because he can work with anyone. Um, he's maybe him and MJF are probably the two best talkers in the world right now. Would you
Yeah.
agree with that? He can,
Yeah. They're definitely up there.
I mean, that yeah, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find two wrestlers who can talk as well as those guys can. Um, Punk's a great promo, still good in the ring. His age is showing, but he is in his mid 40s. That's not a terrible thing.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, if The Rock were semi-active, I feel like I'd have him on my list, but
Yeah.
he's
That
here.
was another one. That was another one. I was like, I just, I think some of the stuff he does, like all like outside of the wrestling, like in backstage and whatever influence he has there, I kind of find annoying. But like him being The Rock is just so entertaining.
Yeah,
Like it's so hard to not like him because he's just so damn good at
he's so good.
going out there, cutting a promo, making people hate him or love him. Is just he's one of the best. That's why he's one of the greatest of all time. And to still be able to do it today, I think is yeah, it's very impressive. So yeah, he's another one. It's hard to keep him off the list. Um, I kind of feel bad now that I left LA Knight off. Like I
But it's
like the
like
more I think,
he's not doing a lot right now. It's not crazy. I mean, a year ago when he was doing the thing with Roman, yeah, I mean, I'm sure he would have been on your list, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, you think about yeah, if it were a year ago, yeah, because I mean, you think about the stuff he was involved in. He was in the Money in the Bank. He was involved in. I mean, people there got people thinking he was gonna maybe win the Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
He wrestled for the WWE Championship against Roman. He had that little thing for with Roman for a few weeks where I mean he was going out there and they were going back and forth and that was when I was like, okay, this is his guy's going to be a superstar.
yeah,
And then he kind of took a back seat to all the other stuff that's going on, which is unfortunate because he's one of those guys who can talk his ass off. He can wrestle. He's got a great look.
yeah.
Um, and he's one of the guys who's up there in the merchandise sales too. So he's kind of got that whole package, but I don't know if they just don't have a spot for him right now, or if maybe they're just giving him this mid card title run to see how or maybe to prepare him for something bigger down the line.
Well, you go back to how strong the top of that bullpen is. Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, Seth Rollins. I think that's kind of the top tier. Is that safe to say?
Yeah,
And
but I
then,
mean, too, it's kind of like what we were talking about too. I mean, could you imagine a heel LA Knight versus Cody Rhodes?
oh my God.
I mean, how great that would be.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Imagine, LA Knight and Gunter. Imagine the program though.
Yeah, or that.
Babyface LA Knight and Gunter.
Yeah, I mean, that would be great too. That's why I hate the brand split
Yeah, well,
because it just handicaps you so much.
just have them show up. I mean, what does it matter anymore?
Yeah, I mean, Randy showed up and wrestled Gunther, so
I don't know. Yeah, well, and we can listen. This podcast, we've had a few weeks now in a row where there's been pay-per-views. Next week WrestleDream will be in the rearview mirror, and there's not a pay per view until November. Crown Jewels, I think November 2nd, right?
Yeah.
So we have a few weeks. Oh yeah, there's Halloween happening, but we're not going to talk about that. Yeah. So I don't think we're ever going to talk about NXT on this show, will we?
Uh, Probably not.
Not.
Um,
Not.
Unless something major happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Something crazy, but yeah. So next week will probably be more of just us kind of kicking a topic around and doing something fun. It's not going to be super contemporary in the news kind of thing. But yeah, we just wanted you guys to know a little bit more about us, what we like, what we don't like, what wrestlers we enjoy. Maybe one day we'll do our 5 least favorite wrestlers today. I don't know. But, anyways, maybe there's a lot of guys we hate.
Yeah.
And there's one thing we can do is we can find someone to mutually hate and just dog him. So, like Jack Perry. Anyways,
Yeah.
I guess that's all for this week's episode of Petree's Pit. Anything else? Jordan, what's in that cup? This guy
Uh,
pulls out this red solo cup before we start recording. And I said,
Come on, man.
pull out that
It's
solo cup during the recording. I'm going to bust your balls about what's in that cup,
yeah.
Jordan.
I'm not gonna say.
Yeah. That's why he forgot LA Knight. That's why he forgot LA Knight.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, so I was thinking Goldberg was wrestling Gunther at Crown Jewel.
That would be
Hey, man, you gotta get through this somehow.
give him the World Heavyweight Championship once. I was a big Goldberg fan when I was a kid. And he wasn't even wrestling anymore, but I still love Goldberg.
Oh yeah, yeah. He was the you know he was just the well, he was the man for all that time in WCW. Then he's just kind of got that intensity about him. But yeah, I don't want to see Goldberg wrestle anymore.
I want to see him give Gunther that jackhammer, drop him right on his head.
I yeah. If Goldberg ever competes against Gunther and beats him in any kind of contest, I will never watch WWE again. I'll just say that right now. I will never watch that again. If I
Uh,
will sell my entire belt collection, or I mean, I won't do that. But
maybe we'll get I don't know, Goldberg versus Cody.
I mean, why does Goldberg have to wrestle anybody? He just stay retired, man. Like,
Man, dude.
no,
I saw on YouTube more people watched the Goldberg clip than they did the Rock return.
yeah, that's.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I'm not surprised. I mean, Goldberg's, it's a cool moment, and you can have that. I just don't want. Why does he have to go out and compete against anybody?
Mm, yeah. Well, anyways. All right. That's the episode. We'll be back next week. What will we I don't know what we'll be talking about. Maybe star ratings. Maybe I don't know. Something. We'll figure out something. And it'll be
Yeah,
but anyways.
we'll talk about something wrestling related.
Yeah, it'll be yeah, probably. Maybe it'll be basketball. I don't know. We're big NBA fans.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know about that. I don't know how interested I'll be in NBA this year.
Jordan's a Miami Heat fan. Anyways.
Yeah, don't remind me.
For those who don't watch the NBA, the Miami Heat are not exactly over right now. They're in the mid card of the
Yeah,
basketball.
they're in the new code.
Yeah. All right. All right, guys.